All right, what is up, everybody? Hope you guys are staying safe out there as always, especially now that we are experiencing a little bit of pullback in the market. Hype has seemed to dwindle a bit, and looks like some consolidation sideways, a little bit of down, are in for the upcoming week, maybe few weeks here. I wanted to start off with looking at the Reven ribbons, which are the new ribbon indicator I am going to release here in the next few months. And yeah, just proving itself to be a pretty useful indicator as I develop it a bit more. We'll go through some of the features of it in just a second. But so right now we are just around 117K, it looks like, for Bitcoin. It seems like it is testing the bottom, or not the bottom, but the first support ribbon. And so oftentimes you'll see price test that first support ribbon. Sometimes it will break through, test the second ribbon, and then experience a bounce up. I expect something like that to be happening here in the next few weeks. You can see the second ribbon is at around 112. I wouldn't be surprised if slowly price pushed it down. You can see over here price action was up at 98K, and then by the time it tested it, it was closer to 97.4. Something like that could very well happen, and the reason I'm also looking at that possibly to happen is because we have our retest blue line here. So what this is, I'll go into the indicator itself, but what's happening with this is I guess you call it retrace line, or what I said a second ago. But what happens when Bitcoin hits the support or main resistance lines, like you see happen right here, kind of marked it. It says met target, looking for consolidation. So once it meets the targets, a lot of times it will pull back into these blue retrace lines. You can see over here, this time it did not. It was actually, it met the target and then consolidated a little bit and then went on from there. Then it had hit the target, the second target here again, and then it consolidated down, and you can see it hit just below where that blue retrace line was. You can see that there are times in the past, this works for both support and resistance, where it does not quite hit it. So I mean, eventually it did. I guess later on, this one was at from this meeting this target right here, it formed a retrace line at around 100K or so, and eventually over here it did hit 100K, but not while the line was active. This second one, though, as it went down a little further, it did hit that second retracement line. So the retracement lines basically look at when a target is put in place and then that target is hit. It will make a retrace line, because oftentimes after the target's hit, consolidation sideways happens in price action. So we can kind of go back here even further. There's not that many. They don't show up that often, and they're hit less often to the downside, especially on runs to the upside. But they are oftentimes hit when price dips down and hits the target. They're often hit on the bounce back. Again here, you can see when price is bullish, kind of in a bull market, they're not hit as often. So that does mean 112K, where is this one at? 110K might be a little bit low. Best case scenario, I think what we're testing right now is going to be the low. Worst case scenario, it will kind of maybe do something like it's done in the past here, where it dips to about 112K, or maybe even 115, somewhere in there. But yeah, it's a super useful indicator. I have added a few AI machine learning type parts to it, so that it looks at price action, looks at its responses to price action from the past, and learns from itself, which is kind of a pretty cool feature. This indicator right now has a lot of parts to it. I'm probably going to be simplifying it, and only the most useful parts will actually be used in the long run. But when I'm building indicators, I oftentimes will try lots of different features and see what's actually helpful for the long run. So anyway, all of that to say, based off of this indicator, there's a couple things to look at here. One is it has created a second target up here at 129K, and it is a pretty high likelihood that that gets hit. You can look at in the past, almost every time a target is formed to the upside, it is eventually hit. You can see back here in November of 24, it created a target at 108K, eventually hit that, and then you had a major pullback from there. And you know what? That probably should have made a retrace. That's actually interesting. It did not. That's probably a bug I need to work out. But anyway, it hit the target here, retraced for a while, hit again, kind of hit in that same area, then had some major sideways and down. So oftentimes these targets can be, especially when they're towards the mid or end of a bull cycle, can be pretty good to call tops. You can see back here in 24, let's see, March of 24, it called this top right there. There are a few times they did not get hit. It called for some more upside here in January of 24, and then price kind of consolidated and went sideways. And eventually it did actually, it would have hit that, but it expired. But all three of these new targets that it made, it hit, that target got hit, that target got hit. So oftentimes you do see these targets get hit. This one right here, it's actually, again, it barely missed hitting it, and eventually it did. Again, it expired. But it did hit price action where it was called. So all of these almost every time get hit. There are a few times here and there where it doesn't. You can see up here, calls for higher, and then actually that is just sideways and down from there. So it's not 100%, but it is highly likely. This one perfectly hit that target before sideways and down. So anyway, super useful indicator and tool to have that will be available for purchase and possibly included in the complete bundle subscription. I'm still figuring that out. Either that subscription price might raise a little bit and I'll include this, or I'll have its own standalone purchase for a reasonable price where you could purchase this indicator just by itself and have full access to it. So that is one thing I'm working on. The other thing I'm working on is a 6-hour time frame bumper band strategy. You can see here, pretty good. I mean, if I really zoom in here, since, what was this, 2012? I'm assuming it's since 2012. Let me actually look. List of trades here. No, 2015. Since 2015, very, very nice equity curve up and to the right. Since 2012, I imagine it'd be just as good or even better. But yeah, you can see a few bumps along the way here and there, but really slow and steady grind to the upside. You can see right here, currently just went through some consolidation sideways. It's had a few instances of that in the past where it, hits a top, has some sideways, maybe a little bit of downside, and then continues on from there. Pretty good profit factor. I'm just looking at this one as a bit of a hedge. It's a higher term time frame, and so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll trade a lower term or mid-term time frame paired with a higher term time frame. That way it catches a lot of different price action, and sometimes the hourly trades really well, but that half an hour, 30-minute doesn't trade so well, or the 4-hour will trade super well, and one or the other won't. So anyway, just another available indicator that will be soon released for complete members. Has all of the, and this is something I actually want to look at, the rep and ribbons real fast. So this table right here is actually super helpful. It's looking at predictive targets based on price action, and again, kind of learning from itself and price action in the past. There's a few different parts to it. I won't jump in too deep on the details right now. Maybe if you continue to the end of the video, I will walk through a little bit more of this and show it in action with some bar replay. I will actually go ahead and get that set up and ready to go. I'm going to just look at bar replay. Maybe we'll go back, maybe even back to kind of recent price action. So as that kind of gets ready, we're going to jump on and look at a few other strategies that have been trading. All right, so this is the 30-minute time frame. All of these strategies you're seeing here are on the Discord. recently, it's been going sideways for the most part. You can see month over month pretty positive for the most part, but February and March especially, was not a great month for it. You can see some big pullbacks here. And since then, a little bit upside, a little bit of sideways. It did nicely call this top right here and get out of the trade perfectly right before this pullback. Not a huge winning trade right there. If you would have, tried to scale in a little bit more later on, you could have maybe taken advantage of that move a bit more. But for the most part, really great. 66% profitable, 1.48 with fees at, I always set my fees at 0.06. So, there's other strategies that have a little bit higher profit factor. If your fees are lower, you can definitely get this. The good thing about this strategy is it trades pretty often. And if you have lower fees, it will really help your profit factor out. Looking at a few others, let's see. We'll go to the 12-hour. Yeah, this is one that I just released recently. It's been going kind of sideways, but really, I guess, taking some wins. It doesn't look like wins because it says break even, but the break even is set to, point. I think it's probably 0.1 or what is it? Let me look at what the break even is set to here. The break even percent. It's basically still gets you out in profit, set to 0.5. So even if a break even is hit, still 0.5 in profit, which is kind of nice. And it's been super helpful recently because it's hit the break even 3 times in a row here. So, not a bad trade. Just a bunch of small trades. And then before that, a couple really big trades that really helped the indicator out, or the strategy out. So this one's nice equity curve up and to the right as of recently. We'll look at a few other 30 minutes. Actually, this is the daily. Okay, yeah, the other strategy I released recently for complete members is the daily time frame. This one did also hit a break even right before the sideways consolidation. So had a nice profitable trade there for 1.24%, 1.25%. And then before that had a really massive winning trade at about 6.5%, a little over 6.5%. So these strategies doing pretty well here. We'll look at the 1 hour. This is the 1 hour max, currently in a losing trade. We'll see if price action bounces from here and can get out closer to break even. But recently hit a really nice winning trade and actually called close to the top. I guess it was a bit higher here at 4%, and then pulled back to 3.3% before it exited the trade. But pretty good. Definitely had a couple losses here. You can see in the past it's gone sideways a bit. And we'll look at the light version as well. So this is the max, 1 hour max version. Then the light version, kind of doing the same thing here. Looks like a little bit less profitable this month, but overall this year a little bit more profitable. So those are the 1 hour strategies. Last things we'll look at is a couple other 30-minute strategies. This one did take a small loss here, but is just the smallest drawdown, a really incredible drawdown for a high profit and loss, and really, really high profit factor. So this one stays in trades longer. You can see it takes less trades because of that, but generally will get some really good moves. You can see it won a lot of trades over the last few weeks here. It's lost a couple, but quite a bit more winning trades than losing trades. So that one's doing well. And the other 30-minute strategy, kind of doing par for the course. I guess this one is still a really nice drawdown, but not as much P&L for the last year and a half. I think that's basically everything. The 1 hour strategy, or the 4 hour strategy, this is one I am trading currently. Had a decent sized loss and then a little bit of a win right there, and staying out of trades. So anyway, the strategies are a little bit boring right now. Trading is a little bit boring. Again, certain time frames are doing pretty well. Others are going sideways. So this is why I trade a few different time frames at a time. But not so bad for the market conditions we are in. We will look at one short strategy that surprisingly has been doing pretty well, even though Bitcoin has had some major runs to the upside. You can see over the past few months, Bitcoin has pushed to the upside, had some pullback, pushed to the upside again. And this strategy has actually slowly made gains, though the last month, the month of July is down because it probably started back over here. And so the month is still a little bit net negative, but the year's net positive, and for trading a short strategy in this kind of market, not bad at all. So you can see this, the fees here also, commissions here are pretty high and reasonable. So that definitely will eat into your profits if you have higher fees than that. But if you have lower fees than that, you can definitely squeeze more out of this strategy. All right, the last things we're going to look at is, we already looked at the 6 hour. We're going to look at some bar replay of this indicator, and I'm going to get rid of some of this junk while we do that. All this drawing we don't really need right now. Okay, so what happened here, you can see the formation of this target was created right here. So what happens with this indicator is when it goes up and the high of the candle touches or goes above the second, what I call confluence band, the second resistance band, it creates a target based off of the third confluence band, and it, again, in the past, it oftentimes gets hit. Happened right here where price went up. It touched the second band, created a price target, hit that price target, consolidated after it hit the price target. You can see it actually perfectly called this first wick up here. Little pullback, pushed up again, and then a little bit more of a pullback before it went higher. Again, because of this wick right here, another target was created. So saying like, hey, target 1 is hit. And oftentimes if you see a target created this fast, it will not go back and hit the retracement bar. So that's something to take note of. Again, hit this right here, perfectly called the top. Sideways consolidation down. It touched and went below the first support band. Almost hit the second support band. A little more ranging sideways. But in this move right here, again, it creates another price target at 120. So that is the target that you'll see in bar replay. It will eventually hit, and then we'll keep going from there. But so the table, I want to explain it a little bit. You have the resistance and the support. So this is based off of historical price action. So right now it is just in the 18th percentile, which is not that high, of hitting resistance bands. So once it starts getting in the 50s to 60s to 70s is when it's going to be more and more likely to have a pullback. But that's pretty helpful to have this tool right here for saying like, hey, how tired is this run getting? Obviously you can see it's only 18%, so it's not tired yet. And you can see the predictive target is the mid to master resistance. So resistance band would be here. So it's calling, a target of going a little bit lower than this currently, which is not much of a target. Maybe, calling that it might go to 107. It's currently at 108. And let's just kind of play it out and watch what happens with the predictive target. Kind of going back and forth because as price is moving, it's, so it's now saying price is more likely to go through confluence 1 resistance. So up here it's calling for upside. Upside does happen, so it's being confirmed. Now it's calling for resistance, which is in between here. It's calling for lower, but you can't see that this is not going to be hit. It did go up. Let's see. I missed it right there. There we go. So it's saying now it's a really high likelihood that it's going to be pulling back to resistance. So master / confluence 1 resistance. So the master band is right here and resistance is up here. So it's calling for a pullback somewhere between 113 and 116K at some point here in the near future. Watch price to see if it pulls back into that. Still, it's probably, I think I remember from price action, it's going to go up and hit higher, and then it will eventually pull back into this area. So a lot of times, again, the predictive targets are, I guess it actually did. It did call for some sideways. So that did play out pretty well, though it did not have a big pullback. It at least was, saying that price would end up between these two bands, and it did. We're looking at mid master resistance, confluence 1. So now it's calling for a pullback anywhere between here, and price starts pulling back from there. Midline and master resistance. So now it's calling for down to midline or master resistance, which is exactly what price is doing there. Again, you can kind of see price pull back into it. I probably need to work on this to, work on the confidence factor there a little bit. But it is at least a little bit of a nice tool to have to see what the bias is towards price action and what band is more biased to head towards. And you can oftentimes, oh, you know what? The other thing I wanted to look at, you can oftentimes make your own assessments. There we go. So I'm going to pause it right here for a second. You can see this is in the 72nd, 74th percentile. I think it might have gone up to even 80 at one point. So this means this run to the upside is getting really tired, and we're going to play it out and let's see if it eventually pulls back, and it does. You can see it, called 120, it said it was getting tired, and now it's definitely having that pullback. And eventually, if we let price go, you'll see that it really pulls back even further. So, yeah, the table is definitely helpful. I'll probably do a little bit more work to make it even more useful and hopefully helpful for users. But this video is getting super long. I hope you guys are having a good day. Hopefully this video was helpful, and definitely stay tuned. I'll be releasing some more content soon and releasing these ribbon indicators here in the near future. So see you guys in the next one.